Reimagining Success, episode 398. This is for you if you open LinkedIn and wonder why everyone else seems to have this figured out. Because I want to tell you something about what's actually happening behind those posts. Today, we're talking about the gap between the performance and the reality, and why carrying that alone is one of the most tiring things about building an independent business. Welcome to Reimagining Success, the podcast that helps you build a profitable business as an independent expert, one that works for you and your lifestyle. I'm your host, Anna Lundberg, former corporate insider turned business mentor, executive coach, and mum of two. Whether you're a solopreneur, a coach, speaker, consultant, I'm here to guide you in creating a business that gives you freedom, flexibility, and the fulfillment you're looking for. Ready to redefine success and build a business that you love? Let's get started. Okay, something I want to talk about today is something that I think a lot of us feel, but rarely say out loud. And I want to start with a moment that I think will be familiar. You're scrolling LinkedIn, maybe first thing in the morning in bed, maybe in between calls, maybe on the toilet, and you see someone you know announcing something. It's a new offer, a sold out workshop, a speaking gig at a conference you'd love to be on, a glowing testimonial from a client, a media interview, and the comments underneath, of course, are all fire emojis and this is incredible, so well deserved, and you feel really happy for them. You probably do, but you also feel something else, something a little bit maybe embarrassing, a kind of question that reads, why does everyone else seem to have this so much more together than I do? And I want to address that question today because the answer, in my experience, both from working with a lot of established independents and from my own honest experience of building this business, is that they don't. They do not have it more together, or at least not all the time. They really do not. And I think the gap between what we present publicly and what's actually happening behind the scenes is one of the most tiring and under-discussed things about building an independent business. So I want to talk to you about three things today. First, what is actually happening behind the posts? What the reality looks like for most people I know who are doing this. Second, where I suppose the performance comes from and what it's costing us. And then third, what actually changes when you find a room where you don't have to perform and play that game. Okay, let me start with what I see and hear from behind the scenes. If you're not privy to these conversations, I want to pull back the curtain and share not what gets posted, but what people actually tell me when it's just us on a call. And this is clients, it's peers, it's different people I've spoken to, and as I said, my own personal experience. Because here's the thing, as ChatGPT would say, but I'm now speaking that way too. The person who looks like they've nailed their positioning, who has the clean LinkedIn bio and the clear niche and the confident content and looks amazing online, is often in the middle of tweaking their headline for the 40th time because they still can't quite land what they do in a sentence. They look really decided. They are not decided. I cannot tell you how many people I've spoken to, and I look on their LinkedIn, it looks so impressive. I love the way you phrase this. It looks like you've really nailed your niche. It's really landing. That is not the reality when they speak to me. Or the person who posts about their sold out workshop has just 3 clients in their pipeline, has no idea where the next ones are coming from. Maybe it's a free workshop. Maybe it's, a handful of people in it. Maybe it was just a good day, that workshop. But before that, they had 10 workshops that had no one attending. The feast and famine thing is very much still happening. They're just not necessarily posting about the famine weeks. Or the person who just announced a speaking gig. Now, yes, they clearly got the gig. They're not lying. But they also said yes to the fee before they'd probably thought about it. And now they're not so sure it was worth it. But the announcement felt good, but irrespective of what they're getting from it. The person who seems completely confident about their pricing had a prospect go quiet last week and spent 2 days stressing about whether their rates were too high and whether they should add more to the offer, whether the website needs changing, and they did not post about that. And I am describing at various points myself, to be clear here, but this is not a case for despair. The work may well be very meaningful for that person. The progress is very real, and I don't want to take away in any way or form from their achievement that they're posting about. But I want you to understand that the image of it, the version that goes online, is edited. It is curated, as all images are. And I think pretending otherwise doesn't help anyone. Okay, so if that's the reality, then where on earth does this performance and the pressure come from? Because I don't think we're consciously choosing to be dishonest. I think we've been trained into this and we brought the training with us when we left corporate, where performance was the job, right? Not just the work, the performance of the work. And there's a lot now about the performative busyness and showing that you're staying late in the office, the appraisal cycle, of course, the visibility, managing upwards, presenting your team's results in the most favorable light, being seen in the right meetings, saying the right things, giving the right impression to the right people. We got very, very good at this because we had to. And then we left. And I think a lot of us told ourselves maybe that one of the things we were leaving was that performance, the office politics. Hooray, no more office politics. The managed impression and brand, the version of yourself that's designed to work for that kind of institutional eye. And I think what you may not have realized is that you bring that habit with you. You just change the audience to some extent. So now the audience is potential clients who need to believe that you know what you're doing, of course, because you're the professional expert, or existing clients who need to feel that they made a good choice. Your professional network, who you want to think well of you, your peers, who you'd obviously rather not admit a difficult patch to because you want to show that sort of stiff upper lip. No, it's going really well. This is what I'm doing. Check me out. And yourself as well, which is perhaps the hardest audience of all because you can't turn that one off. You want to keep telling yourself that this is going well. You did make the right decision and you absolutely are good enough. You absolutely can make this work, however far along you are in the process. The LinkedIn post, however, gets written from the position of someone who has figured everything out, because that's who you need to be on LinkedIn by definition. The discovery call features the most confident version of what you offer and downplays the uncertainty that might actually be present. Or the newsletter that you write, of course, is written by the expert. It's not written by the person who spent last Thursday wondering if any of this is working. It's not exactly lying. It is editing, and it's showing the real parts that happen to look good. But editing takes a lot of energy. And maintaining that gap between the internal version and the external version takes energy too. The longer you do it and the wider the gap becomes, the more it's going to cost you. And I think the real cost isn't reputation or trust or any of the things that you might worry about if people found out what was actually going on. It's more the loneliness of it. Because think about, who can you actually be honest with about the hard parts of this? Your clients? Well, no, there's a professional boundary there and it should exist. They're not paying you to hear about your difficult month. Your family, yes, maybe to a point, but they worry. If you're telling your partner that you're not quite bringing in the money you need to be bringing in, they also don't quite understand the territory, right? They're going to worry about you, the pipeline anxiety, the feast and famine, the specific texture of what it's like to be the person responsible for everything in your business all the time. So you filter, even for your closest loved ones. Maybe your old corporate peers, well, no, they're playing a completely different game than you are now. They're still in corporate and they look at what you're doing and think it looks amazing. You don't want to be the first person who corrects that impression. Your LinkedIn network, well, obviously not, because you see what people post there. So you carry the real picture basically alone. And the performing version, the one that goes out into the world looking clear and confident, becomes something that you maintain with one part of your brain while another part is tracking the actual situation. And I don't think this is unique, of course, to independent working and being a solopreneur, but I do think it is particularly acute for us because there's no team to absorb it. There's no institution behind you, no shared experience of the difficult quarter, and there's no salary that's coming in irrespective of how you're feeling. It's just you and this gap. So what I found, and what I keep coming back to, is that more strategy is not going to fix this. Strategy helps a to-do list, it fine, it helps you move forwards on your goals and so on, but it doesn't help this gap between the performance and the reality. I really see that what helps is a room where the agreement, explicit or not, is you do not have to perform here. So what does that actually look like? What does it sound like? Well, it could be, okay, I'm bringing this to my mastermind group. I have no idea if this pricing is right and I keep changing my mind about it. Help. What do you think? Or, oh, you know what? I said yes to a project last month and then I knew already that I should have said no and now I'm dreading delivering it. And other people will go, oh, yeah, I know that feeling. That's so frustrating. What could you do next time to hold that boundary better? Or it sounds like, oh, I had a great month, but I still feel behind. Or I've been tweaking this same page on my website for 3 weeks and I think I'm just actually avoiding something, but I don't know what it is. And the response from the people in that room isn't, oh, have you thought about this framework? Or here's a strategy for that. It could be, but it's more likely to be, oh my goodness, yes, me too. Here's what I noticed when that happened to me. here's what I think might actually be going on, and this is what might help you as well. And that's different from advice. It's recognition first and foremost. And I think for a lot of established independents who are carrying that performance mostly alone, recognition is actually what's missing. And I have been in rooms like this over the years. I've also been in rooms that claim to be like this, but were actually just a more sophisticated performance, where everyone shared just enough vulnerability to seem authentic, but the underlying competition for status was very much still running. And those rooms are exhausting in a different way. The rooms that work, I'd say, are quite small. They kind of have to be. And the people in them are at a similar enough stage that they actually understand the territory. And there is a level of trust built up over time, not in a single session, but really over several sessions, over interactions, over conversations. And that makes it possible to say the thing you wouldn't say anywhere else. Actually, what I'm quite proud of in my off-script community that I'm building, but also in one-off in-person workshops or in the founder conversations I do in a local co-working space, is that I get the feedback, I'm going to say, and I will own that I believe I'm quite good at establishing that psychological safety, leading with my own vulnerability, and therefore quite rapidly getting people to trust me, to trust the room, and start sharing quite vulnerably what's going on for them. And that gives you immediate access to a very different type of conversation than if you are feeling like, oh, I've got to put on my professional face now and tell everyone how amazing everything's going. Okay. So I guess the point of today is to say, if you think that people have it all together, they probably don't. Most likely underneath, they're also obsessing about their LinkedIn headlines and their pricing and their boundaries and their clients and so on. A good day could be a good day, and they could have had many good, bad weeks. It's not to take away again from anyone else's achievements, but please don't compare yourself, and please don't feel you have to keep performing to bring yourself in line with other people's performance as well, because that gets a bit silly. We're all just performing to each other, putting pressure on each other, and no one's really winning in that scenario. So take everything that gets posted on social with a pinch of salt. Understand that we all have our own internal reality, and then ultimately try to find those rooms where people are having a different kind of conversation. You can be honest to celebrate the wins, and also be honest about the successes, by the way, because that's super important. But also be honest and help each other recognize those moments that are not as polished, not as celebratory, not deserving perhaps of a LinkedIn post, although that could be interesting as well. And to have those conversations with peers who get it. And that is what Offscript is for. Doors close this week for this intake. So if you are interested, then I'd encourage you to apply rapidamente, don't know why I said that in a different language, rapidly, quickly, at offscript.club to join us. And you could be on a call with us in just a couple of weeks and having those kinds of conversations with us, with people who get it, and trying to dismantle that kind of performance and just have a nice deep breath out. Let's talk about what works. Let's talk about what's not working. Take a little bit of the emotion out while also empathizing with how tough things can be, but then get to work to build that profitable, commercially smart business, while also taking into account what real life looks like and what those ups and downs are going to look like. And we'd love to have you in if that sounds like something that you would like to be part of. And again, you can apply at offscript.club. Thanks so much. One more thing before you go. If today felt like someone finally said the quiet part out loud, that's the level of conversation we have inside Offscript. Established independence, no performance required, saying the things that don't make it onto LinkedIn. Doors are now open for the July intake. Apply at offscript.club.